The way news is reported has much to do with how we frame the American mind. One of the reasons why Donald Trump has been successful in being elected in the first place, reelected, is because the mainstream media has been poor in telling the absolute truth, in telling the consequences of having different leaders being elected. Yes, it is true that the opposition party has been poor in getting the vote out, etc. It's been poor in investing in the community. But again, the fourth estate, the mainstream media, the corporate media, one would think would be there to give the unadulterated truth, fact-based information, and not allow all our airwaves to be used to really mislead the people. Well, that's not what happens. We know factually that the mainstream media cowers to the government. And when I say the government, I'm not talking about the good part of government. They cower to corporations. They cower to keeping that eye open for us all. The only reporting entity that otherwise do the right thing, it's the independent media. Whether that be the Pacificas of the world, the NPRs of the world, the individual bloggers, the individual writers of good repute, those are the folks that now in today's world where we can find the unadulterated truth and facts. We have to find them. And when we find them, we have to support them to make sure that the truth tellers, the ones that are given the proper narrative, remain in existence. I want to play a piece from Amy Goodman's, Democracy Now!'s Amy Goodman's keynote speech at Netroots Nation, because what she does in that speech is she gave two different accounts of the United States dropping the atomic bomb on Hiroshima from the corporate media, the bought media, and then from independent media. And when I heard that in the keynote speech, that really hit home, because it was saying that we are victims of the reporting we get. So we get good reporting, we make good decisions. If we get bad reporting, uncorroborated reporting, our decisions are that much poorer. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
It's not only the 20th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, it's also the 80th anniversary of the dropping of the only atomic bombs ever used. One August 6th, 1945, the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima, Japan. Well over 100,000 people killed there. And 3 days later, today, August 9th, 1945, the second atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki. And I want to talk about the importance of independent media in talking about this story. One of the people who was in the squadron of planes that dropped the bomb 80 years ago today on Nagasaki was the New York Times reporter William Lawrence, known as Atomic Bill Lawrence. This is how he described the detonation over Nagasaki that incinerated or irradiated some 100,000 people. Lawrence wrote, "Awestruck, we watched it shoot up upward like a meteor coming from the earth instead of from outer space, becoming ever more alive as it climbed skyward through the white clouds. It was a living thing, a new species of being born right before our incredulous eyes," he said. He wrote, "Being close to it, watching it as it was being fashioned into a living thing, He's talking about the atomic bomb, so exquisitely shaped that any sculptor would be proud to have created it. One felt oneself in the presence of the supernatural. I want to compare his reporting to that of Wilfred Burchett, an Australian journalist who defied General MacArthur's blockade of all of southern Japan, saying journalists could not go there, but wanted to see with his own eyes. And he took a train for 30 hours and he ended up in Hiroshima. He saw the shadows of people seared into walls and sidewalks. He met people with their skin melting off in the hospital. He saw patients with purple skin hemorrhages, gangrene fever, and rapid hair loss. Burchett was among the first to witness and describe, what is now known as radiation sickness. He sat down in the rubble with his baby Hermes typewriter, and his dispatch began in Hiroshima 30 days after the first atomic bomb destroyed the city and shook the world. People are still dying mysteriously and horribly. People who are uninjured in the cataclysm from an unknown something, which I can only describe as the atomic plague, he said. He went on to say, Hiroshima does not look like a bombed city. It looks as if a monster steamroller has passed over it and squashed it out of existence. He wrote, I write this as a warning to the world. This report that was sent around the world shook the U.S. War Department. General Leslie Groves, they understood how dangerous it would be. They denied the radiation sickness, said it was Japanese propaganda. They brought William Lawrence, their reporter, I'll explain why in a minute, back to the Trinity test a few weeks before to try to prove that there's no such thing as radiation sickness. They called it Japanese propaganda. William Lawrence wrote a 10-part series on the dropping of the atomic bombs. He won a Pulitzer Prize for this. Oh, I forgot to mention, it turned out he was not only being paid by the New York Times, he was also being paid by the War Department, by the Pentagon. And he would write the press releases for Secretary of War Stimson and President Truman, very proudly saying how much he appreciated pushing the atomic effort. We need independent media. That warning to the world is so important. But that's the good news being here in New Orleans, because there is independent media. I want to congratulate Current Affairs on their 10th anniversary. I want to thank the stations that run Democracy Now! Here, like WHIV, which is sponsoring the after party and is so important. WLAE, public broadcasting, is under so much attack, which broadcasts Democracy Now! WTUL at Tulane, WBOK, also WAMFLP, community radio. These are important independent media outlets. There's a reason why President Trump has clawed back, has ended the Corporation for Public Broadcasting by clawing back $1.1 billion that was already allocated. He's afraid of independent media. And I also want to acknowledge my colleagues at Free Speech TV who are doing interviews here through these days. And we're carried statewide on LPB3, Public Broadcasting third digital channel, weekdays live at 7 a.m. There is independent media that's thriving here and all over the country. It just needs your support because it is people-powered. Now, I'm going to speak super fast. I come from Pacifica Radio, which was founded in 1949 out in the Bay Area in California by a man named Lou Hill. He was a war resistor, came out of the detention camps, and then said there has to be a media outlet that is not run by corporations that profit from war, but by journalists and artists. And that's how Pacifica Radio was born. As George Gerbner, the late dean of the Annenberg School of Communications, would say, not run by corporations that have nothing to tell and everything to sell, that are raising our children today. And so KPFA went on the air in 49, KPFK in Los Angeles in 59, my station in New York, WBAI in 60, where you'd hear debates between Malcolm X and James Baldwin, the effectiveness of nonviolent civil disobedience. WPFW in Washington in 77. Oh, and well, Egberto is here from KPFT doing nonstop interviews as well. KPFT went on the air in 1970. Within weeks, the Ku Klux Klan strapped dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it to smithereens. When they got back on their feet a few weeks later, rebuilt the transmitter, the Klan strapped 15 times the dynamite to the base of the transmitter and blew it up again. It would take months before they could rebuild. Oh, I think it was blown up in the middle of Arlo Guthrie singing Alice's Restaurant, and I thought that was a good song. But anyway, January of 1971, they went back on the air. Arlo Guthrie came back to Houston to finish his song, and it has been broadcasting ever since. I can't remember if it was the Grand Dragon or the Exalted Cyclops, because I often confuse their titles, but he said it was his proudest act. I think that's because he understood how dangerous Pacifica is, how dangerous independent media is. Dangerous because it allows people to speak for themselves. And when you hear someone speaking from their own experience, it breaks down the bigotry and caricatures. When you hear a Palestinian child crying out for food or their mother, when you hear an Israeli grandmother, when you hear an uncle in Afghanistan or an aunt in the South Bronx, it challenges what you know. You don't have to agree, but it makes it much less likely that you'll want to destroy the person. I think the media can be the greatest force for peace on earth. Instead, all too often, it's wielded as a weapon of war, which is why we have to take the media back.
Now, folks, it is important, again, that we support independent media. Yes, it's self-serving for Politics Done Right as well, but we are the ones that are really informing the American constituency, because when you have the CBSs of the world making deals with the Trump administration, when we have all these other social media, corporate media folks making deals, you know that you're not going to get the information. You know you're not going to get the narrative. You know you're not going to get the research that provides any kind of backstop to what these folks are doing. So again, thank you, Amy. We need independent media. Please support all of us.
All of our country's problems, from polarization to ignorance on domestic and international issues to a complete misunderstanding of our economic and healthcare systems, are a direct result of a derelict mainstream media that too often bend over backwards to support corporate or bought politicians' wants as opposed to the people's needs for real information to make their lives better. Independent media is the only solution to inform truthfully and factually. Why? Because our loyalties are to you, the ones who fund us with small dollar contributions and subscriptions. Please consider supporting our independent media platforms by subscribing to our Egberto Off the Record newsletter at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Again, that is politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. It's an investment that pays incalculable dividends.